Hello students. Today we'll be working with this problem. We've seen this problem and we've been working on it. We've done a couple of things. So remember, this problem is about the living expenses for the Lopez family. Um, and we had a comparison of living expenses in Donna and living expenses in McAllen. So our first table shows what the living expenses for the Lopez family would be if they lived in Donna, Texas, and we went ahead and added all of those expenses, and we figured out that the total monthly budget in Donna would be $2,645. Then we did the same thing for McAllen, Texas. If the Lopez family lives in McAllen, Texas, the total for their expenses in a month would be $3,410. So now let's look at the question that's being asked for us here. The question says Mr. Lopez earns $18 per hour. What is the minimum number of hours that Mr. Lopez should work per month if he lives in Donna, Texas? Okay, so what we know is that if he lives in Donna, Texas, he's going to need a minimum of $2,645. So if he earns $18 per hour, the number of hours that he works in that month multiplied by that amount will give us his earnings. Okay, so now let's try to think of an inequality or an equation that would help us figure out how many hours he would have to work. So we know he earns $18 per hour. So $18 times the number of hours that he works. This is his income, 18 per hour. However many hours he works, we will plug that in for the H, and that will be his income. We need that amount. Okay, so again, let me label that. That is his income. We need his income to be greater than or equal to 2,645 if he's going to live in Donna. Okay, because that is the least amount. If he works however many hours he works and he gets exactly $2,645, then he will have met his budget or his expenses. If he earns more than that with the number of hours that he works times 18, then that will be even better, right? Because he will have enough to cover his budget and have a little bit extra left over. So let's go ahead and solve this to figure out the number of hours. Remember that when we're solving an inequality or an equation, we want to do the same thing to both sides. So we have 18 times the number of hours. We are trying to isolate H because we want to know what H equals. What is the number of hours that is going to make this inequality true? So to do that, we need to get rid of the 18, which is the coefficient. And to do that, we do the inverse operation. So 18 times H, the inverse of that would be to divide by 18. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do it to the other. 18 divided by 18 is 1, so now I have H. The number of hours needs to be greater than or equal to, and I'm going to find out what those number of hours are by dividing 2,645 by 18. So 18 goes into 26 one time, and we're going to subtract here. Bring down the next number, which is the 4. 18 goes into 84. Let's try 4. 18 times 4 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. I think that will be good. So we'll put 4 here. That will give us 72. We subtract, and we bring down the 5. So 18 times what could be 125? Looks like that might be 6. So 18 times 6 is 48. That's 108. And if I subtract, I will get 17 left. So that's going to be point something. So we just need a number of hours. So we don't want to get into the decimal part, but we do know that it would be a little bit more than 146. So we're going to say that it needs to be greater than or equal to 147. Just I'm going to go to the next whole number. Okay. So here I know that if he works 147 hours, he will have enough money to pay all of his expenses. If he works less than 147 hours, he will not have enough money. If he works more, then he will have a little bit of money left over. So we want him to have 147 hours of work or more. So let's go back to our question. Mr. Lopez earns $18 per hour. What is the minimum number of hours that Mr. Lopez should work per month if he lives in Donna, Texas? We would say about 147 hours.